again, this is a book where she speaks out. It's a fictional book, but she, again, is talking about a subject that I think is one that is happening today, where I call it white slavery, women being kidnapped, taken to places and kept. I mean, it's everywhere, Australia, the United States. In her case, she's talking about Pakistan. But it's a terrible thing to think that when you hear about these places that they raid and they find somebody's been living there for 18 years and no one even knew about it. This person was stashed away. And then her book is around that type of a story. Oh, there you are, right there. Okay. So we were very impressed with her book, and so she won our top prize. So. And also, don't cash a check until June, okay?
Okay, so confession, I actually wrote a 4-page speech, but then I had some wine, and I decided that wasn't necessary. So, a little bit about the second wife. A lot of the reviews talk about how I touched on human trafficking. That was never the intent of the story. In order to understand where the story came from, I'm going to go back. I came to America when I was 4. I started reading books from the minute I learned how to read. I loved reading with a passion. The more I read, the more sucked in I became. As I hit puberty and emotions got in the way, and with that it became an escape. Reading was what helped me get through a lot of tough times. And I think if you think about it, if you know readers, and most of you are authors or readers yourself, you know what that feels like. But one of the challenges I found growing up in Texas, a brown girl, reading, was that I didn't read a lot about people like me. Most of them looked a lot like you. And I got my escape in there, but what I would find that I would do is the stories that really touched me, I would stay up at night and redo them with people that I could relate more to, people that I connected to. So now fast forward, I never thought of becoming a writer. I went into graduate school, got my social work degree, opened up my own private practice. I'm a counselor. One night, about 8 years ago, I'm walking out of the office. The lights in the parking lot had short-circuited, so it was pitch black. It was after 9. And it was silent and dark, and I'm very creative. So all of a sudden, these what-ifs started going into my head as I was trying to make it to the car. I got to the car fine, but the thoughts didn't stop. And by the time I got home, I had the story of this woman who was in the parking lot that was abducted. And I stayed up that night and many other nights afterwards writing about this woman. And she looks a lot like me, brown, black hair, from India. And she was kidnapped by her client. She was a therapist and taken to Pakistan. So the story is about Alicia. And it's also about her husband, David, who tries to deal with her disappearance and not knowing where she is. So as Alicia struggles to survive, to figure out a way out, she also learns to adapt. She also learns to find strength in the people who share in the hell with her. So the story is about survival. And along the way, I discovered the whole concept of the power of human trafficking, because I'm a pantser. If you're a writer, you know there's two different kinds of writers. There are the ones who plot, and then there are the other ones like me who they come up with any kind of an idea and they sit down and the stories just kind of come out as they write. That's me, I'm a pantser. So during this process, I knew I wanted to write about this strong woman who really fought for others more than she did herself. And in the process of researching, I discovered so much information about human trafficking and how painful it is and how over 40 million people are trafficked. men, women, children, how and what happens to them and how lost they are. And it became to take a whole other turn. And it became about not just Alicia, not just about David. It became about the other people that she shared her life with in those 2 years in that home. And it became about all of their survival. It became about how even in the darkest of places, you can find hope, you can find strength. And that's what that story was. It was, when I first wrote it, I didn't even know if I was ever going to publish it. I was a therapist. I wasn't thinking about that. It just was a story I wanted to write. And then when I was done, I realized this was something that I wanted to share. So then I started trying to market it. And interestingly enough, 64, 65 rejections later, someone finally explains, one of the editors or agents, I can't remember, your story is too diverse. No one is going to connect with it because it's not about the kind of people who read it. We don't read those kind of stories. It's too dark. So an author friend of mine said, you know what you need to do? You need to write a plain Jane story about two Caucasians, a simple romance, nothing dark. And so I did. I wrote a story, and it's one of my favorite stories, about a blind therapist and her neighbor. And it was, I went and I pitched it, and I had 3 different publishing houses accept it. And I picked one, and I had that published. I learned the art of publishing, how to do it, how to market. And after I learned all of that, I self-published the second one. It is by far my favorite story. I'm working on book 3 of the series now, and it has been the one that has humbled me as far as the reactions and responses I've gotten. So I'm glad I didn't give up. I guess that's the point of all of this. You may get no's. You may be told that it's not going to work. But if you're passionate about it, you do something with it. Don't put it away. Because if you believe it, somebody else will find the strength in it that you found in it. Thank you. Before I forget, I have some handouts about human trafficking indicators. I'm going to leave it out there. The thing about human trafficking is, most of us, we don't notice it's happening. Most of us don't know what to look for. So if you know what to look for and you know who to call, that's all you got to do sometimes. Just make a phone call and you can save a life. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, I listened to your audio. That's